Hello everyone, Nathaniel Gavronsky here, and I'm in Austin, Texas, and today is March 2nd, Independence Day for Texas. So I figured what better way of spending my day than doing the history of the state capitol building and the great city of Austin, Texas. This video will concentrate mostly on the capitol building and the capital city itself. I will be doing more videos on the history of Texas through this revolution in another time, but let's do Austin and let's do the state capital of Austin. Okay, so Austin, it was first settled in 1838 by a guy named Edward Burleson. Now, Edward, he was actually from out east, out in Virginia. He was born on December 15th in 1798, and he would fight in the War of 1812. After the war, he would move westward, being a territorial legislator in several of the different territories before coming to Texas. Once he arrives in the Texas, he joins the militia and becomes part of the Texas Army during the Texas Revolution and War of Independence. He becomes a vital part of this, of the conclusion of this, when he's the person who actually receives Santa Anna's sword when Santa Anna is captured and then forced to surrender, giving independence to the Republic of Texas. Now, Texas becomes a republic. It becomes an independent republic, its own nation. And at this time, Mr. Burleson, he actually becomes the vice president of the republic. And then he also, after it becomes a state, he becomes a state senator. He actually dies here in Texas on December 26th, 1851. All right, he's here in Austin, and he lived long enough to see this city become the capital city of Texas. Now, when he founded it in 1838, he just kind of sat down and started, basically pitched a tent and said, "I'm here." It wasn't until 1839 that it becomes incorporated as the city of Waterloo, and there's about 12 residents consisting of 2 separate families. Okay, so once you have the creation of the city of Waterloo and incorporated, then the next thing that happens is that Texas, with its independence, they actually see that not only the part that they have now as being Texas, they see that Texas is going to actually expand all the way to what is now Los Angeles, and they need to move their capital city more to a more centralized location, which includes moving it, away closer to, the middle of what they believe was all going to be Texas. That ends up right along here, the Colorado River, where Waterloo was at, and they said, you know what, we need to make this our capital. Problem is that for the name Waterloo, is that law already set by the Republic, said that the capital of the Republic must be named Austin. Now, it's named Austin after Stephen Austin, who was the father of English Texas. This is a really important part of Texas history. And for his part, he was just following what his father had wanted to do. So Stephen Austin, he was born on November 3rd, 1793, and his family was really well known in the Midwest and in Illinois and Missouri. And his father was in the position of negotiating with the Spanish government to bring a colony of frontiersmen down to Tejas to create a buffer zone from the American frontiersmen, because they thought if they had a colony and they had land, they homesteaded it, and they basically lived and worked it, and it was already created, that the frontiersmen wouldn't be able to trespass and try to subvert those existing claims in Tejas. So that was the idea. Well, Mexico overthrows the Spanish government, and the whole plan is in limbo. Moses Austin actually dies, but his son Stephen picks up the charge, reluctantly, but he does it, and he says he gets in charge with the Mexican government, and the Mexican government says, you know what? Actually, this sounds like a pretty good idea. We think we're going to go ahead and move forward with this plan. So in 1825, Stephen Austin brings his colony of frontiersmen and settlers into Tejas and begin the settlement of Texas as far as the English-speaking world is concerned. Now, they were supposed to all learn Spanish. They were supposed to become, bona fide Mexican citizens, and they were supposed to not have any slaves. None of that happened. A couple of other things took place with Santa Anna, who would become more and more a dictator, versus the republic that Mexico had wanted to be. Things go sideways, and you have the Mexican Revolution. They declared independence on March 3rd, 1836, in a little building in a town called Washington on the Brazos, which because they called Washington the city on the Potomac. So this was Washington on the Brazos, and that's what they did. They declared their independence, and then they had the war. So after the war is over, you have the creation of Waterloo in 38. It's annexed in 30. It's incorporated in 39. Now they want to move the capital to here, so they rename it Austin. Now, a guy named Edwin Waller, he actually designs a grid pattern, and this grid pattern, the north and south roads are actually named after different rivers on the map of Texas. The east and west roads were actually named after different types of trees in the area. Now, the east and west roads, they're actually renamed in 1884 to numerical values. But the Waller plan, the grid plan in downtown Texas, Austin, is pretty much intact. It all still exists just the way that it was. Now, Austin was very close to the border with Mexico as far as Mexico was concerned, and places south of here like San Antonio were being threatened. Austin was also being threatened. So Sam Houston wanted to move the capital back down to Houston, his namesake. But the city of Austin, the county of Travis, which was named after Colonel Travis from the Alamo, weren't having it. They wouldn't release the records. In fact, this became known as the Archives War, because the city of Austin wouldn't give up the state government's records. Now, the legislature of the Republic would move around, and they would actually have a very important council and commission in Washington on the Brazos in their old Independence Hall. They determine a couple different things. One, where is the capital going to be? And they decided the capital was going to be in Austin, but there would be another vote in 1850 to determine if that was going to remain so. And then they also decided they were going to be annexed by the United States. They decided that was the direction they wanted to go. February 19th, 1846, the Republic of Texas ceases to exist, and the state of Texas is born, with Austin being the state capital. In 1850, they have a vote. The vote is in Austin's favor. So in 1853, they build a Capitol building right behind me, this is where it used to sit. It was 140 by 90 feet. It was only a couple stories tall with a little bitty dome on it. Again, they were going to decide again in 1872 if they still wanted Austin to be the state capital. So they weren't going to spend a whole lot of money until they had this whole thing decided. Now that you're going through the Civil War, okay, now the Civil War, Texas is basically unscathed. You don't really have the war hit Texas until June 19th, 1865, when U.S. troops arrive in Galveston. This is when they say, by the way, the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863 says all the slave men here are now set free from bondage. They are now free men and women, and they are under now federal occupation. The occupation of Texas did happen, and it was readmitted into the Union fully in the year 1870. 72 came around, they voted. Austin won the deciding vote. Austin was going to remain the state capital. About this time, all the railroads were coming in. Lots and lots of railroads were coming in. People were escaping the devastated eastern seaboard and were moving westward. So a lot of them were moving to Texas. Railroads were being built. In fact, this was the farthest west you could get on rail. More industry was coming in. Austin was starting to boom. They decided, 1881 comes around. They want to do a couple of things. One, they need a world-class university, so they formed the University of Texas. They chartered it in 81. The classes start in 1883. The Capitol behind me, the old one that was built in 53, burns to the ground in 81, but they were already in the process of doing a new building. They were already looking at doing a new building. So on January 1st of 1882, they make an agreement with an architect from Michigan named Elijah Meyer. He designed the capitals in Colorado and Michigan as well. He was going to build this one behind me. Now, they break ground on February 1st of 82, and they have a ceremony of laying down the cornerstones for this building on March 2nd, the anniversary of Independence Day in 1883, to great fanfare. The building is being built by many convicts, a lot of former slaves, and a lot of transients that are moving in from all over the eastern part of the United States and Europe. During this time, Austin's actually under fear of a serial killer that's running around. 7 women were killed and 1 man were killed. It was known as the Servant Girl Annihilator, but the headlines quickly shifted to Jack the Ripper in London in 1888. However, neither Jack the Ripper or the Servant Girl Annihilator were ever brought to justice and are still at large. Going into the 1880s, you have a lot more investment coming in. This building is continuing being built. It's open for the public on April 22nd of 1888, and on May 16th, 1888, Temple Houston, who was the youngest son of Sam Houston, actually has a dedication ceremony here. The Capitol is, officially here. This is what we're doing. This is our Capitol building. We're not moving it. And you start seeing continuation of the building up of Austin as a cultural center with the university. And by 1891, they feel like their economy is kind of maxed out with the government and with the university. They need to do something else. They need to help bolster industry. So they decided they're going to recharter the city. They actually triple the size of Austin, Texas, and then they built a dam in 1891. The dam unfortunately didn't survive a really horrible set of storms in 1900. It broke away and devastated a huge chunk of Austin with over $1.2 million worth of damage in $1,900. Several people were killed, and they were trying to build back another dam, but they was never able to get it going. The Great Depression happened. Now, one thing about the Great Depression, though, see, Austin, unlike a lot of other cities, didn't have as bad of a time because they had a city government that was very adamant about having a strong public works administration. So they were able to keep the city, occupied and working, much like the CCC, the TVA had going on. Texas kind of did their own thing. Roosevelt this stuff, but Texas was kind of already ahead of the curve on that. And I think probably FDR probably borrowed some of that stuff from what Texas was doing. Now after the Depression, they actually get their new dam. The Tom Miller Dam was built in 1940. Going through the World War II and the 50s, you start seeing again, the war is over. There's a big boom here in Austin. The 60s coming around, and technology is the big thing. Everyone's all crazy about technology. So by the early 70s, you start having IBM, Texas Instruments, Motorola, among just a few of some big tech giants moving into Austin, Texas. This, with the university here and all those, a lot of young people were coming here for the young jobs, the university. There were government jobs that were available. Critical mass happened, and this place just boomed. We had so many different arts and artists and science and math and technology. They needed something to do to relax, so we started having live music everywhere. In fact, in the 1970s, this became known as the live music capital of the world. It rivaled Nashville, Tennessee for notoriety in its cultural attributions towards live music. Even to this day, there are hundreds of music festivals all over the city. There is a live music show almost everywhere you want to go here in Austin, Texas. Going into the 80s and 90s, it continued to grow. It outgrew its airport, took over an old Air Force base and built a bigger airport. We started serving people in the late 90s, and then you start building, the technology kept growing and growing and growing. Austin, this kept developing, to great ends. Not all of it came, without some cost. One of the things that happened in the late 20th century was that the University of Texas is down this road from here. The tower, the main building tower, an ex-Marine on August 1st of 1966. His name was Charles Wheatland, and he killed his mom and his wife before climbing the tower and shooting an additional 14 people and maiming several others. That was the first mass shooting really in the country that wasn't tied towards gang activity. And it was a shocker, and it was sadly first of many incidences where people going through different types of mental illness used gun violence to take revenge on innocent people. However, going forward, you look around the city, there are probably more cranes in Austin, Texas than anywhere else in this country. This place is hopping. There's always something going on. They're building housing. They're building corporate buildings. Even after 9/11, they were building skyscrapers. They're still building skyscrapers. They originally had an ordinance that didn't think it could be really taller than this building. They had to scrap it because there was only so much room and they had to build. There are some areas where they have this building protected from being blocked, but essentially this whole city is growing so rapid, so fast. One of the fastest growing places in the country, all because of technology, math, science, art, culture, music, things for young people, things for older people. It's surrounded by nature. There's caves and caverns, waterfalls all over the place. The place has monuments all over. This is a giant parked area where you can actually see some parks and stuff. They did add on to the Capitol in January of 1993. They built on the extension, which is underground areas. They kind of modeled it after Washington D.C.'s legislative office buildings. It's what it looks like. It looks like you're going through one of like Dirksen or like Hart. Actually, probably kind of mix between Dirksen and Hart. I don't know, the Longhorn, but it's got a gift shop. It's a really nice dining hall. A lot of the senator's offices are down there. A lot of the members of the House have offices down there. And the offices are even decked up the way they are in D.C. The building itself is 302.64 feet tall, which is 14.64 feet taller than the one in Washington, D.C. It's also larger than the one in Washington, D.C. with the extensions and everything. On the statue on the very top, that is the Goddess of Liberty. That is actually a replica. The one you see above me is a replica because the original one in June of 1986, when they were redoing they had to know this building needed some work. The statue couldn't be repaired. They used it to make a mold to cast a new one, and they put the new one up. And the old one, they did the best they could, and then relocated it into the History of Texas Museum. But Austin is a world-class city in the middle of Texas. It's like an oasis in the desert of culture enrichment. It has a great level of diversity, not only in backgrounds but thought. There's art, there's culture, there's science, there's every aspect of what you would want in a world-class city that could rival any of the capitals of Europe. Austin, Texas is it. So my name is Nathaniel Gavronsky. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and as always, keep it weird, Austin.